don't know what's going on. Eli's camera's cutting in and out a little bit, but we'll make it work.
Yep.
As I said, I'm here with my co-host Eli, and we're here to bring you more updates about fantasy, the playoffs, and going into this new year.
Oh yeah, excited to see what this next year holds for us here.
Right? So we made picks last week. We were batting about 500. There was a couple upsets in there. We took. I mean, we could start with the ones that we got wrong. We took the Steelers, which, looking back in
Yep.
2020 hindsight, Lamar Jackson should be the MVP. That probably was not the best choice to take in the
And
world.
against them, yeah, exactly. We're kind of going for the Tomlin hype. But push comes to shove, MVP's gonna take the slice of the cake. He's the one out there on the field making the plays. So it does make sense.
Yeah, it definitely does. Uh, I mean, Tomlin did what Tomlin does best. He kept himself right in the middle. Another plus five,
Hmm.
above 500 season. Yeah, we made the playoffs. I don't know. How are we feeling about that team as a whole? Like,
About the
the,
Steelers,
it feels like we've
I
been
mean,
stuck in a perpetual rebuild of just like we're gonna keep bringing in
it
older
does. It
players.
does. It does not feel like the type of defense that you need to come through and put respect on year by year.
Yeah,
Typically, in those games, those are going to be in division games, and even when you do see those in division games, it's not going to be all the pills and thrills that it was in the past. As far as the future of Tomlin goes, it's going to be pretty interesting. I don't think they're going to let him go. I mean, there's too much of a dire market for coaches out there right now.
yeah,
There's no way they're going to drop talent like him, but still, as far as the Steelers' identity and their future goes, it is. It's a very interesting place to find the Steelers right now, especially with two really top tier QBs. Um,
maybe.
really difficult to see. Yeah, I mean, yeah, top tier as in top 20, I would say in the league.
That's yeah. I saw an article today that had Russ listed as one of the top 50 free agents. He was in the teens. He was like 12 or 13, and to me that just feels wild because while he's been good with the Steelers, it's still okay. And again, you have Justin Fields, who's also about to become a free agent, if not this year, next year. It
Yeah,
makes not much sense to keep both of them because they're so different.
yeah, yep. And with that being said, the difference in their styles, they were surprisingly able to marry those play styles and still have somewhat of a productive offense, which hats off to the OC, hats off to the coaching that they were even able to pull something like this off. You know,
True. Uh, I mean, all in all, the team is good. Like they're a decent team. They're always going to be a decent team, but they just keep pulling kind of older players, and their draft stock outside of T.J. Watt has paid out, I guess, okay. George
yeah,
Pickens is fine. I don't know if he's necessarily a number one right now. I'm saying right now they've had some great draft picks when it comes to like running backs and stuff like that, but their team right now, Pat Fryermuth is okay. Like I'm not. I think these guys are all better than me at this sport. Like that's not a question about that. But when I say like they're okay, uh,
yeah.
T.J. Warren and not T.J. Warren. Oh my goodness, I can't remember his first name right now. They're running backs. It's Najee Harris and
Actually,
some Warren. Their backup
okay,
running back. They're not. They're both not bad, but they're not
mhm,
top of their league. They're not
yep,
necessarily winning like on yards on the ground.
yep.
They're kind of stuck where I would
Yeah, they're
put.
keeping it together.
Yeah, it's like we're gonna get plus 500 every time. We're gonna be sniffing the playoffs every time, but none of these teams have been like, oh, this is the Super Bowl year. This is
Hmm.
like we. I don't even think there's been a team where it's like, maybe they sneak in one. Like they're at the
Yeah,
cusp.
they haven't really had something even close to that since like 2012 or 2013, and even before that it was 08. Like that was
Yeah,
kind of their year. Um, so we're pretty far gone from all that. Yeah, seeing Russ in the teens in free agency isn't all that surprising. I mean, you got to look at the other veterans that potentially might be floating around. I mean, look no further than the Jets situation right now that they find themselves in.
Yeah.
Do they tough out another year with Rodgers? Do they let him go?
I
I
think
mean,
they.
who would you rather have? You know?
Well, if it's between him and not Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, who said he doesn't want to play another year with Rodgers, I'm keeping Garrett Wilson. That's a no
Yeah,
brainer. That's a
100%.
like. I'm sorry. You want me to pass on our arguably best receiver we've drafted in the last 10 years? No, I don't need another year of Aaron Rodgers to see that. Uh, so you have, I don't know. I'd be interesting to see, I think, in a later segment when we talk about teams that have the biggest chance of an upside in this offseason. Steelers are probably one that could make that splash. I don't think they are. I think that they're just going to do another season of 8-8, and
Mhm.
we're good.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
uh, moving on to the next game, we got the Commanders right,
Yep.
which saddens me because Baker Mayfield. I have a soft
I
spot in
know.
my heart for Baker Mayfield, but
Yep.
that team is just better. Like it was,
Mhm.
they're just gonna out athletic. Uh, I don't know, like necessarily what else to say except Jaden Daniels is arguably going to be the best
I
quarterback
mean,
in the league. Like,
I would 100% agree with that. I mean, this was a tooth and nail game coming down to the very final drive where a kick that really seals the deal. I mean, even listening to the caster that was covering it at the time, it was it was like a new era was ushered in at the end of that game. It was a phenomenal back and forth. So to see these two teams and make it come so close was such a reward. Seeing how these teams have developed over the year, you know,
yeah,
like this would have been a good Super Bowl to watch, honestly, like compared to the last few. So, I
that's
mean,
true.
say what you will, Commanders are really scary right now. You know.
I don't think that it's going to go like I don't think they go much further. I think they're a good team. I think this is kind of where it ends, though.
Hmm.
Just for this time, I don't think on paper that the team is necessarily worse than any of the other teams left, but
Yeah.
I think it's just experience. And
Yeah.
if everybody knows that Jaden Daniels is going to wait for like the last 2 minutes to really pop off, that's fine. I'm just stepping on him at the beginning. Like, nah, we're gonna be up by too much. It's not gonna matter. You can't save that. Um,
Hmm.
so, but I mean, I was glad to get this one right because
Hmm.
we got. Did we have any other ones, or did we get them wrong from here? We talked. Oh, we picked the Rams,
We got the Rams. Yeah. So
which.
speaking of experience being shown up front here in the playoffs, right? Sean McVay's led offense over here, absolutely putting in the absolute work here in the postseason. This is a veteran performance that you can see where knowledge has been acquired over these past few seasons. You can see how they made their last playoff run and their Super Bowl run just on this performance alone, seeing how their offense was able to navigate the defense, which has been one of the most scary in the league this
Mhm.
entire time. Seeing how their defense was adjusting around the errors that their offense was making and hammering home every single play what they needed to do. Seeing Sam Darnold being a deer in the headlights, coming like halfway through the game, playing the exact same play, having the pressure on the exact opposite side of the field at that perfect time. I mean, it writes itself, the victory, truthfully.
Yeah.
Did I think it was going to be this big of a blowout? No,
No.
but it certainly turned out to be that way.
And you know what's gonna suck is this is gonna sit negatively with Sam Darnold because he lost the first round of the playoffs. It's like, oh yeah, this is another typical fashion. You know, with the Vikings' 4 losses this season, that they lost to the first 2 games that they lost were back to back, and then they lost the week before wild card, and then they lost in wild card. The point here is that the first back to back games that they lost is they lost to the Lions and then they lost to the Rams. Then they lost week 17, 18 to the Lions, and then they go to the wild card and lose the Rams. So really, Sam Darnold beat 30 or 29 other teams in the league, but ended up getting the same two that were his bane
Yep.
back to back
And
times.
knew his
Yeah,
stake. Yep.
yeah.
100%. Yeah.
So-
And with that being said, Sam Darnold could have made those adjustments.
oh
There
yeah,
is an element where like this is on the QB. Couldn't get the pass down, couldn't get the check downs, couldn't quite make the play, and it's pretty self-evident. I mean, sure you can say what you want with the coaching, but as much as I love the guy, as much as he's done so well for me this season, seeing it all come to a tremendous collapse here is rather breathtaking, truthfully.
yeah. I think this is going to be the reason that we get a JJ McCarthy start next year. I think that
If JJ McCarthy doesn't find himself on another team already,
no, he's no. They're not going to trade him. They haven't even seen him play yet. I think this is what they're going to justify because I think if Sam Darnold won deep into the playoffs, they go perfect. We'll just let Sam Darnold play it out till he's not good anymore, and then we'll let JJ McCarthy get the start. I think now with this first round out, it's like okay, was it Sam Darnold or was it the team? Maybe we give JJ McCarthy the shot and see how he does. Yeah, it just to me feels like he shot himself in the foot, which is a bummer because he had a stellar season. Like he's gonna get most improved. If he had I would be shocked if he didn't get most improved.
yeah, I would agree.
So, and then we had. Now we're on to the games we got wrong, right? Because we got 3 right, and I think we got 3 wrong.
I believe so.
Yeah. We picked the Chargers to beat the Texans, and then the Texans flipped it. I think it was still close, but they flipped it. We did the who'd we pick on the other side here? We picked we just talked. Sorry, we did the Steelers first, and we got the Steelers wrong. We got the Steelers wrong. We got the Chargers wrong. We got the oh my god. We got the Eagles was the one that we got right. There we go.
Okay. Yep.
And so it was the 2 on Saturday. We picked the Steelers over the Ravens. We got it wrong. And then we picked Texans over the Chargers, and we got it wrong. Then we got Eagles and Green Bay right. And we got Commanders and Bucks right. And we got the wild card right. The Monday night. So we got 3 out of 5. That's not bad. I mean, we can talk about the Eagles game. I don't know if there's a whole lot to talk about. The better team won there.
We covered it. Yeah, we covered it pretty well in the last one. I thought it was going to come down to which run game was more dominant, and it's an undeniable Saquon show that's going on over here.
Oh, yeah. Which...
And when Jalen is healthy, Jalen's balling, I mean, simple as that.
Yeah. When the team's healthy, because remember, Dallas Goedert was on IR for right up to the playoffs. So he's back. That's a difference. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. They're both, the team's just stacked. And shout out Nick Sirianni for letting the rest of the league still be competitive with this stack of a team. This is
True.
good on to you, man. You better hope you win it all this year or you're fired. I don't know what else you could ask. What do you go back and say? The offense wasn't doing enough? You have the best running back, one of the best receivers, a top 10 QB, and a top 10 tight end. I don't know what more you need in this league unless you could get ones in all of those categories, but you can't. Chiefs have tried. They couldn't.
Niners have tried.
They could, and it doesn't work. That's the big part is it doesn't work. You get too many egos like that, it's like we can't get the ball to everybody. All you need is someone to be like, that guy's a bit better than me. He should get it. Or someone that's selfless. That's like, no, I don't care. Take the ball. Whatever. I don't need this run. I don't need this pass. Let's just win the game. So then the 2 we got wrong. I'm bummed the Chargers lost because this would be a wild turnaround for Jim Harbaugh to come back in the league and immediately be in the Super Bowl.
I know.
Niners got it wrong.
But also, shout out to Harbaugh just even getting this far through the season. We remember seeing the Chargers last season get absolutely steamrolled by almost every single team in the league, and seeing them make a 180 into the playoffs is good enough for me to see a pretty rosy future for the Chargers.
Yeah. Who knew all it took was drafting a lineman when you had a porous O line? It's crazy how that
There
paid
you
out.
go.
Yeah, left tackle.
I know.
Just and he was a stud. Like Joe Alt killed it this
Yep.
year.
Mm-hmm.
If Rookie of the Year wasn't a popularity contest, probably could have argued that he might have won it. Like played every snap, play like just killed it. It also doesn't hurt that after drafting two mid wide receivers and Josh Palmer and Quentin Johnson, they go out and they get it
Yeah.
Lad McConkey, who
Mm-hmm.
I mean is crazy. Like is just out there just killing it. So a bright future for this team. I still think Justin Herbert is a system quarterback. I don't necessarily think he makes the leap. I think, but the team around him is going to get better. Like
Yeah.
what we're really looking at is this guy's just Kirk Cousins, and that's not a bad thing. Kirk Cousins can run an offense, but
Yeah.
he's not. His hero ball isn't there, and he's not like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Patty Mahomes are three perfect examples in the current NFL about how what a next level QB looks like. Joe Burrow flirts in and out of that every now and then when he's not fully hurt. But it
Yeah.
okay. I've got Khalil Shakur, Dawson Knox, and Dalton Kincaid, and James Cook.
Yeah.
Cool.
Just throws them together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
How,
he balls out of his
how many passes do you
throws
need?
it to himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
It's unstoppable.
oh, and they got Amari Cooper, so it's like cool. You tell me how far this ball needs to go, and it's getting to someone. Like
Yep.
triple covered doesn't matter. I'm gonna give him a chance, and I just don't see Herbert doing that.
Not successful at least.
No, and it kind of stinks that he's replacing arguably one of my favorite hero ball players in Phillip Rivers. Like that man. Well, I mean, come on. This dude would throw it into triple coverage and then talk shit back to the huddle. Like, would be like, yeah, hey, kiss, what are you doing? Get out of here. Like,
Oh yeah.
but I agree. I think it's a rosy future. I think we're seeing some major gains. One more decent draft, and I mean, we're talking about the Chargers in the Super Bowl next year. I think that fast. Well, I mean, I wouldn't even say it's that fast of a turnaround. I just think that Brandon Staley was really good at doing defense, but not good at doing offense. And because the defense is stacked, you've always had a kind of stacked defense, but you couldn't get the ball moving. So you're losing these games like in shootouts because you can't make it. So that's my piece about the Charger. I think they're going to do good. I think they get a pretty big turnaround.
Same.
And then what was our last game?
Last
We already
game,
talked. Did we cover all five?
I think we covered all five. Yeah.
All right. So then, do you want to talk about? Before we talk about coaches, I want to talk about one of my favorite things here, and that is how the Browns keep shooting themselves in the foot.
Oh, anything
It's just-
new on the Browns?
Yeah. Good old Deshaun Watson retore his ACL in rehab and is now expected to miss most of next season. But guess what? They still got to pay him. They still have to pay him because it's a fully guaranteed contract. He's on the roster. It's if they cut him, they owe him a ton of money. Like you can't, and I don't know if you can cut him because he's hurt because of the player association. They're like,
Yeah, they should have.
this makes this trade so much better. Like,
They
it's
should have ripped the Band-Aid off at the beginning of this last season.
right. Like, just
I
take the
think
cap hit.
It was in the tea leaves. Yeah, it was in the fine detail forever ago. We knew this kid wasn't going to be doing too much. We knew he wasn't going to be the quarterback that even gets you a few wins in the season. It took
No.
Jameis Winston coming in and having the most exciting Browns game of the season. You know, so bless them where they are. They should have ripped off the Band-Aid a little while ago. I feel like a lot of upper management would have kept their jobs if they did that. I mean,
Well-
it's been nothing but a horrendous show.
And it's crazy because they're talking about how they're going to keep Kevin Stefanski as the coach, which I don't hate. He's not a bad coach, and he's kind of been put in an awful situation in that his quarterback room was Baker Mayfield, and no, that was Freddie Kitchens.
Yeah, that was.
He didn't even get Baker Mayfield. His quarterback room has been Deshaun Watson, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Joe Flacco. I think Deshaun Kaiser made a start in there somewhere. Like, all these guys that are journeyman backups and ones that when you see them coming out as the starter, it's like, man. Well, at least we'll get a good draft pick. Like,
Yep.
it's... And he took one of those teams with Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Joe Flacco to the playoffs. So I think he deserves to keep his job.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But if I'm him, I don't know if I want this job. Like, I'm just going to be the most hated coach in the NFL because no matter what happens this offseason, another bad move's going to happen. There's going to be one. Like, they're going to make a move at the time that everybody's like, oh, okay, maybe.
Yeah.
You know what it's going to be?
Flirting with the idea. Yeah. What is it?
I think they're going to trade Nick Chubb. I think because of these back-to-back injuries and the broken foot, this feels like the bad move to make to move up in the draft pick to get a...
What's Chubb going to get?
Chubb is going to get you like a third and a first-round pick swap. That's what they're going to shoot for because they're going to go up with a bad team to try and get a quarterback because they know Deshaun Watson isn't the answer and they know Jameis isn't the answer. So they're going to start over, but then they're going to pick the wrong one.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like... That sounds true to form exactly what the Browns might actually do in this upcoming draft, at least, you know.
I mean, the Giants need a running back. They got a top pick. Joe Shane doesn't need another quarterback, right? They can run it back.
I don't think Brian's going to have a job here pretty soon.
Has
he been fired yet?
No. They haven't fired him.
Honestly, Jets? Brian to the Jets?
Wherever he's going to go is going to have a good offense.
Yeah.
Send him to Miami. I'd take him as our offensive coordinator. Why not? We haven't... Yeah, well, he's not getting a head coach out the rip. He's got to go back to winning. Not many Giants coaches have gone back to being head coaches after coaching for the Giants. But I think what we're going to see first is we're going to see Joe Shea get fired. And once he gets fired, the new GM is probably going to be the one that has to be the bad guy here and cut and fire Daboll. Because he's not well liked by the fan base, so they're not going to be sad. But on paper, it really doesn't make a lot of sense because this is a down year. This is a bad year. But the 2 years before this have been decent enough. So... And he doesn't, I mean, he has influence over the player personnel, but he's not the GM. He could sit there and say, yeah, we could probably, I think he verbatim said this when talking about Devin Singletary over Saquon. Yeah, we could make it work. Like, we could run it with Devin Singletary. Yeah, you can. Of course you can. Yeah, you give me any player in a running back spot. Yeah, I can run an offense. Am I going to win? No. Like, that's not the answer. That's not the question that was asked.
Yeah.
But... Yeah, we can even make this a hot take. I'll just reiterate it at the end. Browns are trading Nick Chubb to get higher up in the draft, and it's gonna go twofold. They're gonna trade up to get a quarterback. It's gonna go bad. They're gonna get the Bryce Young here, where it's gonna take 2 to 3 years before you see any kind of like, okay, maybe this guy is the guy, versus the CJ Stroud, where it's like, oh, okay, this is it right now. If they even get that.
I'll give my hot take with you.
Mm-hmm.
Brian Daboll, head coach position, Jags. That's where I see it.
Okay. And he does take quarterbacks and turn them into diamonds. Okay.
There you go.
I don't hate that. I think that's actually a pretty realistic one. We just need Doug Peterson to get fired. Peterson.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. Yeah,
it has to. Like, we're just what are we waiting? It's like one last deadline where he doesn't take a cap hit or something, and then we fire him.
Yeah.
Yep. But to follow up with the Browns making the bad quarterback choice, the Nick Chubb, wherever he goes, is going to have a Saquon-esque season. Where it's like, oh my god, these guys are stupid for getting it. It was a broken foot. What are we talking about?
I mean, we're talking about, like, cyborg-esque Nick Chubb now. You know,
right,
like,
but we're also talking...
Knee surgeries, ankle surgeries, hip surgeries this man's had.
We're talking about a Nick Chubb that sped his rehab process back. Like, was doing things insane short amount of time. Just... They gave him Wolverine adamantium. Like, he's just not... He's coming back fast. And he doesn't re-hurt his knee. He breaks his foot. So, now... I would be just as concerned if I saw that fast rehab process and then it's kind of like the Aaron Rodgers where it's like, oh, maybe he could play and then he comes out and blows his knee out and it's like, we should have just held out. Like, we should have just waited, let him get better. A broken foot is a freak accident of nature. Like, so I'm saying he's going to ball out like Derrick Henry did at the Ravens and like, oh, okay. I know the trade.
I was going to say there was a lot of naysayers about Derrick Henry at the beginning of this season as well. You know, saying that he was old, washed up with the Titans, wasn't going to be that productive on the Ravens offense. Look at him here in the postseason. Like, he is in stride, ready to go, ready as ever. I'm excited for this Ravens offense, honestly.
All right, you're gonna hate this, but I think I know where Nick Chubb is gonna go.
Oh, let's hear it.
He's gonna be a Raider. Because this is totally a Raider move to be like, nah, it's not our year to get a quarterback. We'll move back a couple spots. Give me Nick Chubb. We'll give you our third. You guys need a running back. You move back a couple spots. Hey, but you know what? If you even pull like a Bo Nix.
Yeah, big question mark in the coaching position right now too. You know, like as far as like where you want your offense to go, is it going to be running back focused? I mean, who knows? You know, we have a pretty good receiver core. Why get rid of it now?
Well, but you don't. You get the running back to alleviate the receiver core from having to be pressed because now they're going to pack the box. And no matter what, Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell can beat one-to-ones with a pass. They might fall for some traps in the double coverage and the zones, but if they're packing the box, they're running man on the outside, and he's beating them. And if not, guess what? Yeah. Nick Chubb's getting 5. Like, I could totally see this, and the Raiders trying to justify it to you guys. What it really means is you get another year of mid-quarterback play and a 7-win season.
Yeah. I could see that. Maybe, honestly, Chubb to the Cowboys. You know
Chubb to the Cowboys would be a good one.
I feel like that would be a very natural step. You know, late RBs finding themselves on a broken Cowboys offense. I mean,
yeah,
it just kind of reads itself to me. I don't.
But
really
they can't pay him. Cowboys couldn't flip his salary. He's not in a contract year.
They could.
Well, then you're for sure letting Dak go.
Oh, yeah, you're for sure letting Dak
go. You can't keep him. So then, oh, man, now we're playing 4D chess on this because if Browns know that Dak's going to be a free agent, why do we draft somebody when we can just overpay all of our quarterbacks and we're just going to pay Dak $60 million to come be mid for us?
Touching back on the QB situation. Sanders, who got package deal with the rookie QB.
Browns don't want him. Cowboys might make the swing for Shedeur. You're right, but then again, I wouldn't. Then you're
Cowboys here for that rookie QB with the coach and Nick Chubb in the trade, dropping Dak in the trade.
No, well. So then, are we saying? So then the trade would have to look like we're going to pick swap with the Browns because the Cowboys are farther back than the Browns are. So they're going to trade up with the Browns. Browns are going to give Nick Chubb, and then they're going to have to give them like a third for Chubb. No, it'd be like a second for Chubb and then a first next year.
Probably first next year.
The first next year has to come into play to justify the swap now. You get Shedeur, you get Dion, because they're not bringing McCarthy back. They've made it pretty clear already. They're cutting him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that.
Is Trey Lance sticking around on the Cowboys, or is he already cut?
No, he's still around, but they didn't give a whole lot for him, and I don't. Yeah. Maybe we see.
More than probably what he's worth, you know?
I think we see here is that the way that the Cowboys rebuild their roster is they draft, and so they're going to try and get draft capital. I'm calling the Giants, and I'm saying, hey, I've got Trey Lance. He was a top 10 pick a couple years ago. We're not going to take. We're taking a quarterback. Like we don't want him. He doesn't fit our play style. But I wouldn't spin it that we don't want him because then you're not getting anything. They call on the Giants. Who are you going to run it with this year? You're too far up to get a pick. You're a good QB. Your backups are nothing. Why not get, like, I don't know, why not get a Trey Lance? Just get him. Even if you draft a QB and he's better, you still got him as a backup, and you're paying him next to nothing. He's a top 10 pick. So.
True. This is true. But I do know the one half that Trey Lance did play, it was some of the worst ball that was played this season. That's all I do know.
Well, because he's not getting any respect. I don't mean this in like a mean way, but if I was a third string quarterback, fuck it, I'm holding on to the league here on what? My knowledge of the playbook. I don't have to play well. I just have to be able to recite the playbook back. How many times, like, outside of preseason, how much football has he played in the NFL? It's like 30 snaps, if that.
If that, yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
cool off of 500 grand to $1 million a year. Like, roll it on in. That's Skylar Thompson's in that same boat. Same guy. Just, God, this guy sucks, but he knows the playbook.
I'm pretty sure Trey Lance is getting paid like close to $4 or $5 million though.
He might be, but I mean, either way, like, I don't have to be good as the third string quarterback. I have to be able to recite the offense. I have to look good in practice team. But guess what? I'm getting picked off on practice squad. That's my job. I'm supposed to feed the defense here and build the confidence and let them know where the routes are going to get jumped. That's my job. So I don't know. Yeah. Third string quarterbacks have a cushy gig. I want to be one. Go ahead and sign me. I'm 6'1". 6'1", 230 pounds, but I can cut some weight. And
There you go.
I can throw a football over that there mountain. You just watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, well, we've touched on a lot of the coaching stuff that's kind of going on right now. The only thing we haven't really touched on is the Browns, and I want to say the Browns, or not the Browns, the Bears have been mildly entertaining. I want to say, forgetting right now, but they're interviewing people as we speak. So that's a pretty optimistic team coming in this next year as well.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion, has a lot of space and a lot of things you can kind of move around. So that'll be really interesting to kind of track going into this offseason.
If I'm the Bears, I'm for sure holding my breath that the Giants fire Brian Daboll.
Oh yeah.
I'm holding my breath, just like, oh, please let that be us. Like, but otherwise, I don't know. I really feel like, and I could be wrong here, that any coach could do okay in that offense. I don't think there's a lot of coaches that are necessarily going to struggle. Belichick would be a good one too. Just saying. I would be.
You'd be better there than most other places.
Yeah. But I also don't know necessarily very many coaches that are coming in to be interviewed, and I mean, I just feel like I'll have to.
Still starting, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah, like, we're starting the process, but I don't even, like, I'm guessing that we're waiting for the playoffs to end because there's a lot of head coaches, or a lot of coaching, like, staff that are trying to get picked for head coaching jobs from those positions. A lot of OCs, DCs, and stuff like that. Speaking of playoff football, Ravens just signed a guy. He's not able to play until after the Super Bowl. They signed Deontay Johnson, which, if you don't know right, but Deontay Johnson is on pace to play for every team in the NFL by the end of next year.
Really?
He started with the Steelers. He was part of the trade where he ended up on the Panthers. He then got waived by the Panthers, picked up by the Ravens, let go by the Ravens, went to the Texans. Texans let him go right as they're going into the playoffs, and the Ravens picked him up, but he can't play till next season.
Wow.
That's wild. And he's not bad.
Last honestly I've heard about him was playing with the Steelers. If I'm going to be frank.
Yeah,
That's the last I've heard of Deontay
He was part of that trade. It's just, I don't know. It just feels to me like, why? Like,
Hmm.
yeah, like,
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Especially, wait, you said he was with the who last?
so
The
he was
Browns?
Steelers, Panthers, Ravens, Texans back to the Ravens.
Texans, Ravens. Oh wow.
Yeah, and it
Wow.
wasn't part of any kind of like trade. I think he got signed by the Texans, let go, and got picked up by the Ravens. So his agent's doing above and beyond work here.
Oh yeah, big time. Hmm. There you go. Proof
Uh,
is in the pudding.
yeah. Sorry, it was a bit of a tangent, but I just read about that today, and I thought it was like the amount of times he's moved is wild. Um,
Yeah.
so, but we've talked about some of the coaching positions that are open. I mean,
Hmm.
Atlanta's got promise. Michael Penix looks okay. Kyle Pitts. Hey,
Yep.
Kyle Pitts in 11 years is about to have an or in 7 years is about to have an MVP season with 11 touchdowns,
Couldn't agree more.
getting one more per year. Oh,
Hmm. Yep.
can't wait to see him in year
I bet.
25 when he's going for the Hall of Fame.
Big time. Agent like line over there.
Yeah,
Yeah, Atlanta's issues, I don't honestly know. I don't. I think they need a defensive coach. Honestly,
yeah, they need a.
I don't want to say Sala, but
Hey,
that's kind of
maybe.
right there.
Uh,
Hmm.
their defense was lacking. I think they just need another receiver because I mean, no hate on Ray McLeod, but Ray McLeod's been in the league for 9 years, and this is the first time I
Yeah,
heard about him getting consistent numbers. Eh,
yeah,
And so, if like just another receiver, because Kyle Pitts is okay, he's efficient on what is getting thrown his way, but the ball's not going his way, so we're clearly airing it
yep,
out, or we're checking down.
hmm, yep,
So, give me something. Run game's fine though.
true.
Tyler Algier and Bijan are fine.
Oh yeah,
Uh, I mean,
yep,
we have the potentials. We have the Jags,
yep,
and that's a team that's interesting. You're coming into a pretty good offense. The rookie receiver that they got is doing well. Gabe Davis is fine. Evan
yep,
Ingram, when he's healthy, is good, but that tight end that replaced him is also doing pretty well. So the offense is good. You have ECN and Bigsby in the backfield, and the defense is also like they. It's a well put together team, but it also just feels like the Chargers of the East. Like, yeah,
yep,
well, we had the team, we just didn't know what to do with it.
hmm, yep. For
Uh,
the least exciting coaching team, the Las Vegas Raiders. Actually, not all too unexciting. The upside is that there is, I want to say like it's a non-taxable state, so like there's like extreme upsides to being a coach, and there is essentially. So it's like if there is a coach that can step up to the plate and make the team something, there is like nothing but merit and reward to whatever kind of effort you're willing to put in on the team. That's what I understand as far as like coaching pickups for the Raiders. So if there's a coach that is the second coming, like that's their team, but I don't know of any candidates that might even come close to that.
well, and the big thing that's the selling point for the Raiders is coach gets to pick the QB. We get to pick the
Yeah.
QB to fit your offense. We're not trying to squeeze someone else into your system. You get to pick them.
Mm-hmm.
You go there and you tell me which one it is. Because in
Yep.
reality, no coach in their sanity is going to be like, I could turn Aiden O'Connell around. A coach with decent sense would say something along the lines of, "If I had to go one more year with Aiden O'Connell, we would try our best, but we're really just trying to build on the pieces we have." Like, so, uh, it, yeah, I would say that getting to pick your quarterback would be a big selling point. Not much else.
That's about it.
You have a decent defense.
Like a decent defense, up and coming tight end, like
Yeah,
there
and that's good too.
is.
Like making the argument for
Yeah.
Brock Bowers. But man, this just feels like minus minus having David Tepper of your coach as your boss. The Raiders feel a lot like the Panthers. It's like a landmine that's waiting to happen for any coach that really steps into it,
Without a doubt. Yeah,
unless you can
I would agree.
be well liked. But at least I will say this: Mark Davis is more okay with like coaches that are friendly with him. David Tepper just runs the numbers, and he's like, yeah, fuck that. This guy ain't it.
Yep.
We've lost 4. Frank Wright doesn't know how to work with a young QB, and he said that on TV. Get him out of here. Get him out of here.
Yep. Yep. It's true. Yeah. No. It is less than optimistic for what I see our head coaching positions doing. I mean, like we said last week, Brady's new 5% stake is going to have an overwhelming voice in what happens with the future of this team, just because of the relationship he has with Mark Davis.
Yeah.
So it's rather nerve-wracking for a lifelong Raiders fan.
Yeah. Okay. So if Tom Brady influences the pick and this guy becomes a stud at QB, is just like future Hall of Famer, where you pulled the next generation's Patty Mahomes. How do you guys approach that? Like being a fan of Tom Brady, like you can't, right? You just have to be like,
Yeah.
those.
I mean, I feel like players are another conversation. Bringing in more people that were from his Patriots past is a major sore spot, just because of what we ran into with McDaniels. So like getting a flavor of whatever kind of offensive scheme they were cooking up back then, we want absolutely less than nothing to do with. The coach literally invented a new tier of how bad a coach can be in coach rankings.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much more evidence you need to stay away from back office Raiders.
Okay, but we knew that McDaniels was a fraud, like before he came in. Like that's now you're telling me though, Tom Brady goes, "Hey, I want to hire our wide receiver coach, Julian Edelman. I think he's going to be a great guy." You're telling me you're not stoked that Julian Edelman's
Not stoked.
Oh, man.
Absolutely not stoked.
What about former teammate Randy Moss?
Randy Moss? I'd be more open to it. That he seemed a little divorced from the team already. He was only there, one season?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with that,
Okay. But honestly, when we talk about coaches, I don't think the Raiders have the worst coaching job to step into at this point.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think worst coaching, probably the Giants. We're going to be frank here.
Yeah, when whoever has to take over the Giants has got Malik Neighbors, and that's it. Yeah, it's got to be the Giants. And, I mean, if the Browns do fire...
Yeah, you have a spark of hope with the Panthers. Through our rosy Bryce Young this last 2 or 3 games or something like that.
Yeah. No, I take that back. I think the worst spot to be right now is the Patriots.
Oh yeah, that's. A good
I think you got a good defense, but you're just stuck in mediocrity with offense, and they're still drafting the Belichick way, where they're like, we're taking guys a little bit too early. Unless you can break that cycle, you're just stuck. You're gonna be stuck in such a bad spot. Like, there's no receivers to throw to. Drake May is okay. Like, he's good. He's going to do fine. But if you don't have a line to block, there's so many things that you have to fix, and you're just going to catch all the flack for everything that goes wrong.
Yeah.
So I would take the Raiders, where it's like, yeah, we kind of know the team's okay. It's going to do okay, versus
the pay's going to be good too.
Right, the pay's going to be good, but you're stepping into a team where if you do well, you're above average, versus the Patriots, where if you do anything below great, you probably deserve to be fired.
In mediocrity, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, yeah.
I mean, that also poses the question of what you were bringing up earlier, Dolphins, right? How do you feel moving forward with McDaniels?
I'm fine with it. I really do think that if Tua stayed healthy, we're talking about a completely different team. I think that falls on, again, the thing that we knew that was the problem is managing our backup quarterbacks, and it'll be interesting to see in this draft if we take a quarterback, which I feel like we should. But I wouldn't be mad if we took someone on defense. To me, I would put that. It's the same thing that if this were the Patriots, that coach would be fired because they expect greatness, but they were expecting greatness with Skylar Thompson and Tyler Huntley as my QB 1 and 2.
Yep.
It's just not something like Tyler Huntley was on the practice squad for the Ravens up until week 4 when we pulled him up. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily blame him for this, and he took what we had and still brought us to within it. We had a win out scenario to get into the playoffs. I mean, that's crazy. And we had Tyreek that didn't want to be there. Uh, I think the team's solid. I think the drafting and the scouting that's going on in the building is good. I just think that we need another quarterback. And I wouldn't be surprised if next season McDaniels gets fired, but it would have to be after like a really bad start and Tua gets hurt again. Because Stephen Ross just has to make a statement. And is like, no, I can't. We can't keep blaming this on the QB. Why didn't we fix this? Like, why weren't you talking about this more? And he'd get fired.
Yep.
So, yeah. I mean, that's my Dolphins. But before we start to wrap up here and reiterate hot takes, we've talked about all these teams. We're almost through the playoffs. What is a team right now? And you could argue for one that's in the playoffs, but those would be I would call those like low hanging fruit. What is a team that you think will have the biggest turnaround next year?
Ooh, biggest turnaround next year. I could see. Let's see here. I think Bengals last season was a good call.
Yeah.
Or not Bengals. Buccaneers. Seeing what.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield.
Mayfield was gonna do. You know, I mean, he gave us another outstanding performance. It's a shame to see him go against the Commanders at this time. You know. Oh man. You know, I'll say Broncos. I'll say Broncos. We were talking about Bo Nix last week.
Yeah.
I think what Sean Payton has been doing has been nothing but a positive upward trajectory. So, I mean, if he sticks to the blueprint, I mean, we're bound to see an even better team next year.
Okay. Okay. Uh, I mean, I could take the low hanging fruit here and say Bengals because they didn't make the playoffs this year and they're gonna kill it next year. Uh, I wish the Chargers hadn't made it so I could talk about it because the team they're building something down there. Uh, but in reality, if we're talking about teams that I think are going to have the biggest jump forward going forward, is probably Arizona.
Oh,
I
okay.
think we're getting good numbers out of Trey McBride once Kyler Murray has figured out how to work with Marvin Harrison Jr. I think we're going to see a huge boom there. And the line's decent. James Conner, for however long he's there, is a consistent running back. And the backup that they just drafted, and I can't remember his name right now, but I remember watching it. He's good. He's going to do fine. He's going to be a good running back in the league. He's got a spunky defense and a coach that's created a good atmosphere. I just think this is going to be a team that once they get, because they're going to get another decent pick next year, once they get those picks in place, and if any of them pan out in positions that they really need, like maybe another receiver or a couple line pieces, I wouldn't be surprised they almost made the playoffs this year.
There you go. Do
They
you
not
think Arizona does better than the Steelers next year?
If the Steelers keep Russ, no. If the Steelers let Russ go, which I don't think they'll do, I'm going to premise this that I don't think they let Russ go. I think they re-sign him because he did well enough. Then yes, because as much as I like Justin Fields, on a mid team, he's going to continue to be mid, even with the Tomlin coached offense. Or an Arthur Smith run offense, where it's like, we're going to try and get the ball to everybody. No,
Yep.
George Pickens is going to want out halfway through that season. But
There you go.
I do think it's Arizona. So,
Interesting.
yeah. I mean,
Very good.
You got any hot takes for me?
I mean, doubling down on that Brian Jags led offense, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, hot take. Hot take is that my Super Bowl picks at the beginning of the season still stand. That's my hot take.
What was your hot pick? Who were your teams?
I want to say my teams were actually. I think I take it back. I think I said it was going to be Steelers, Texans.
Oh, well,
Yep.
I would like to use this moment to say that my hot take is still alive, that we could have a Texans Lions Super Bowl. I called it last
Oh
year
yeah.
at the end of last season, and it was like, I see it. This is the comeback here. Uh, Now, Texans have to beat Kansas City this weekend, so. Oh, shoot. You want to do some picks here, real quick?
Let's do some picks real quick.
All right, so the hot take here is that the Texans and Lions are still going to the Super Bowl, but
Mm,
let me see here. Let me pull it back up. All right, we got Houston at Kansas City.
okay.
I do think it's
That's an
Kansas
uphill
City.
battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the uphill battle. I
Uh,
mean, yeah, there's not a lot that kind of pushes up against that, you know.
no.
Yeah, I think we gotta go Kansas City.
Yeah. Now, back-to-back bangers of games right now. So right after Houston, Kansas City, we get Washington, Detroit.
Oh,
So that's Jaden Daniels versus Nick Foles.
yeah. I mean, I think you gotta go Lions. I mean,
You
the
right,
turnaround Goff has been this season alone, you know. Go for it.
and yeah, it's the team's just too good. I think this one. I think they just get overpowered. I truly, Dan Campbell has been telling the team, "I'm already getting you sized for the rings. Like this is our year. Like he's got the mentality that we're gonna win this, and like we've won it. And I just don't see Washington having that same mentality, and I don't think Dan Quinn is facilitating that mentality.
Yep, I would agree.
Uh, and then we get the one mid game is the Sunday morning one, and that's Rams Philadelphia.
Oh,
I don't see it. Even if it's close, the Rams have never
I
lost the
might
lead at the
go.
end of
I
this.
might go
Or
Rams.
not
I might
Rams,
go.
the Eagles have never lost the lead. I mean, we can
Yeah.
split on this one, but again, Stafford's
After
good.
seeing how well, yeah. I mean, simply comes down to Sean McVay, in my book. You know, it's going to be a coaching difference. Um,
I don't. I see.
and
What I really think it comes down to is because the Rams win in coaching. Quarterbacks are a push.
yeah,
Rams win in receivers. No, not Rams win in receivers. Eagles win in receivers because while Cooper Cup and Puka are good, Cooper Cup hasn't been his prime self since the with the Triple
yeah,
Crown. Uh, so what it really comes
it's
down
going to
to is Kyron Williams, can he outrun better against the Eagles defense than Saquon can run against the Rams?
I think it comes down to whether or not the Rams defense can get in the head of the Eagles offense. The Eagles have had this small push here that has kind of propelled them back into this little playoff position. If they can maneuver themselves in a way that gets into the run game, it affects the run game, affects the pass accuracy as well. You know, drop passes, maybe even a fumble here and there. I think if the defense can accomplish that goal, they come away with a win in in this upcoming Sunday morning.
Okay, so we're splitting here. Rams Eagles.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, I mean, the last one is the should have been MVP versus the predicted MVP in the Ravens Bills. And
A lot of dreams are going to be broken in this game here.
where are we playing at? That's what I want to see.
I'm assuming Baltimore.
It, yeah, I think you're right.
I think I got to go Ravens on this one.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, as awesome as the Bills are, I mean, it's going to come down to who chokes harder. You know,
Right.
like who do you see choking harder in this game? Is it going to be Josh Allen, or is it going to be Derrick Henry? You know,
Yeah, it's for sure. Well, I don't know. I don't think it's either quarterback chokes. I think a skill player somewhere messes it up. And what I really think is, I think you're right. I do think Derrick Henry is just going to outrun James Cook, and that's been the key points of both of their offenses. And when the run game hits, then the pass game hits. And I'm taking Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely over Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid.
ooh, okay,
And then you get the receiver core where you lose it. Like the Bills
yep,
receiver core, I would say is better just because they have Amari Cooper. Um,
ever
I
so slightly.
ever so slightly.
It's it's very tough. It's going to come down to small your players here and there choking.
Yeah. And really, whichever defense holds up better. And unfortunately, the Ravens defense has a better defensive coordinator with it. Not that I think the Bills defense is bad, but I just think that the Ravens is better. So I think when it comes down to it, the Ravens are going to win. It's going to be close because again, these are two quarterbacks that can play hero ball. Uh, Josh Allen is just going to absolutely just put this team on his shoulders and try to will it. But I think Lamar Jackson has more that he can lean on to support him. So that means we're going Chiefs, Lions. We're splitting Rams, Eagles, and Ravens.
There we go.
All right, we'll come back and we'll have to see how we did next week. But
Yeah,
I think that's a good breaking point. So we'll catch y'all next time. We'll still be hanging here.
of course. Yep.
Later.
Later.
All right, I gotta get over here and